Well, good afternoon. I'd like to start with a brief scan of you, the audience. How many of you had 3 meals in the last 24 hours? With a show of hands. 2 meals? And come on, don't lie, because I'm watching you. 1 meal? More than 3 meals? I guess I'm the only one because I snacked in between, right? And I think I saw all of you at the reception upstairs, so we did have some extra meals in addition to what you had. Anyway, today I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects, which is the dichotomy between hunger and food security. And before I start, I'd just like to define for you what food security is. And this is a situation where we have food, all people having food that is sufficient for them to meet their dietary needs, to have a healthy lifestyle and active lifestyle as well. So you might be wondering, what are weapons and security got to do with food? Definitely, we have to, when I go over my talk, you'll be able to see that connection. And in addition to that, I'd like to share with you some very two troubling and contradictory statistics. The first statistic is 1 out of 7 people go hungry every day in the world. If you put in the bigger scheme of things, this is about 7 billion people. Needless to say, none of us here is affected, right? Because we all had at least 1, 2, 3 meals today. So anyway, so this is a very important statistic that I feel that should not be in existence right now. And what's going on is that a lot of people in the world are hungry. If you look at this color-coded map, most of the yellow, orange, and red spots show where most people are hungry. And it turns out to be sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. That's where the majority of the hungry people are. And you ask, why am I concerned about this? Ladies and gentlemen, I grew up in sub-Saharan Africa like you had in the country of Kenya. And so I've seen hunger firsthand. And this situation is expected to get worse, just because it's projected that by the year 2050, there'll be 9 billion of us on this earth. And the food demand is supposed to grow, is expected to actually grow. And where is the highest growth going to be? Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. So we have to be thinking, what can we do to get this situation resolved? The second statistic I want to share with you is the fact that about 1/3 of the food that is produced around the world is actually lost. And you ask, where does it go? In the big scheme of things, again, you are talking about $1 trillion worth of food that is being lost worldwide. In addition to that, just the US alone is about $165 million worth of food that goes to waste. So let's see, where is this waste happening? This is just a simple representation of the supply chain from farm to fork, as many of you may know it. It turns out that a lot of food in the developing countries is lost somewhere just after harvest. So that's around just when it's still within the farm. And there are several causes to these losses. Some include the poor post-harvest handling conditions that they have. Other conditions include insect infestations. Just generally how they manage the food. It's very difficult for them to get this food to the table. In the developing nations or industrialized countries on the other side, the situation is more of a wasteful situation. So we are having people either serving too much food, like in a buffet. We have people buying more than they need, partly because the food is cheap, and such kind of things that lead to waste of food. And this is happening mostly at the consumer or food service level. So what can we do to resolve this situation? We have the food, we have people who are hungry. We need to mix this so that we can balance the whole equation. Now, looking at this, we know that the default way that the world looks at solving food problems is by increasing productivity. So they want to produce more. Needless to say, you can produce more and not really get it to the people who need it. So in this particular situation, they have done a good job, similar to kind of the Green Revolution. For those of you who are familiar with the Green Revolution, they used very improved technologies to increase productivity in the farms. Now, these two pictures are representative of that kind of situation where people have grown and they have produced enough food. And we see that those juicy mangoes with those women and the woman on the other side with great potatoes that she has grown. Anyway, the problem with this lies in the background of those two pictures. The first picture, you can see that there's a lot of mangoes rotting in the back of that picture. It means that these farmers, they have grown the mangoes, but they can't get them anywhere. So they are all trying to sell amongst themselves. Same situation. So what can we do about this? Why are people still hungry? The solution, as far as I can propose, lies in this. And what we are going to do is this. We are going to process these foods to add value to them, and we are going to develop markets for these farmers so that they can sell their food. And how are we doing that? This is happening already. In my center, the International Food Technology Center, in the Department of Food Science, we are working to empower local food processors in developing countries so that they can add value to their food and get it into the market. And how are we doing that? We have adopted the incubation concept. Many of you from the School of Management know the incubation concept. It's really about providing technology and capital to people who need it so that they can develop enterprises. We heard about entrepreneurship earlier before in these talks. And so this is what we are doing right now with people in mostly African countries. We are now building incubation centers, and this is where we offer all the services that the local processors need to be able to learn how to add value and to process their foods and get them into the market. This is an example of one that we built recently in Mali. And what we do is that we go out, we work with the local partners in the country where we focus, and we bring in all the technologies. Coming from food science, we know that the technologies are already available in the food industry. So we bring these technologies to them, and we establish a setting where we can train them and do process demonstrations for them. We also do hands-on. We let them come and do the processing. So one thing is that allowing them to come and practice and really use this equipment is really what makes them learn and get used to it and get enthused to go ahead and try to set up something. We also teach them business skills in ways to go and get money to go after this, to build their own enterprises. And this is what is happening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce to you the woman below. Her name is Madame Lima. She's one of the graduates of our incubation centers. She has gone ahead and obtained a $60,000 loan from a donor agency, and she's been able to set up her own enterprise for processing food. I can tell you now she's about to pay off that loan as she continues to process and get the food in the market. On the other side, she's giving market to the farmers who initially would just either throw away their food or just lose it. And that's really building a whole community at large. And within this center, we also do continuous research and development. In the previous picture that I showed you, we are teaching her now how to package her products properly so that they can compete even with the imported products in the market. And that is really a payoff for these entrepreneurs. So, with all this in mind, after having known that you have had enough to eat, I want to present to you some things that you can do to help resolve this situation. The other day I was walking on campus and I saw this young man. He was wearing a really nice t-shirt. It said, "Hunger, the challenge of our generation." And I was so excited, I almost reached out to pat his back, but he walked pretty fast, so I was not able to reach him. But I can appeal to you here now because I see you are all seated here. What I'm saying is, in an institution like this, you can do research and development to develop equipment that we can then take to these countries and help these people to add value to their products and get them into the markets. There are also other opportunities. There's service learning, a lot of things that you can do to get engaged and to help resolve the situation with hunger. On the side of food waste, really, go back to your pantry. Look at the foods you have. Anything that is about to expire, donate to the food bank. Wouldn't that be for a good cause? Avoid purchasing things that you won't need. When you go to the grocery store, just buy what you need and eat it. Also, some of the things you can do is that when you have leftovers, think of ways that you can reuse them to make other products. And that's really very helpful. So I like to end up with this quote from Dr. Philip Nelson. Some of you may know him. He's the World Food Prize Laureate, the year 2007, former head of department here at Purdue University. This is adapted from a Chinese saying. He says, "Teach a man to preserve his fish, he will feed himself, his community, and also have some money in the pocket." Thank you very much.